Good morning. It's a beautiful day today. I hope today's going to be a spectacular one for you. I've got my running clothes on. I'm ready to go out and dare the rain to take me out today. So we'll see what happens out there. What do you think? What's your opinion when I say the word dogs? Do you have a smile come to your face or do you come in shock and awe? I think some people have probably both sides of that, but at least for us and our family, the word dog brings a smile. We have fond memories not only of the dogs we grew up with, but the dogs that we've had for our kids as they've grown up. But there's a phrase in the Bible that says, "Beware of the dogs," and it's not talking about um, a designer dog like that frequents my house. It's talking about something else, and it makes sense to me when you get a word beware to pay attention, right? Like you've seen it in people's yards, beware of dog. Well, that's one thing. You're invading somebody else's property when you see that beware of dog. But today I want you to look at something where these dogs will invade your property, and that's your brain time. And you need to be aware of what's going in so that you don't have distractions and deceptions that are causing you to live away from your freedom that you have in Christ. So let's look at this real quick. This one, Psalm 22 is where I am. A lot of you are familiar with Psalm 23, but Psalm 22, to me, when I read Psalm 22, it just resonates that David, even though he's writing this probably about something he's going through, he's writing it as a prophecy of the Messiah that's coming. He's writing it about Jesus because it starts off with this verse. It says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Does that sound familiar? That's what Jesus said on the cross right there. And David said it many hundreds of years before Jesus uttered it on the cross. And if you just read down in this chapter, it sounds very familiar to that of the suffering servant Jesus. And then you get down to um, verse, uh, gosh, lost track of where it is here. Is it 12? Maybe? Um, yeah, it's verse 16. I wrote down the wrong one in my notes here. It's verse 16 in Psalm 22 says, "For dogs have surrounded me, a band of evildoers has encompassed me. They pierced my hands and my feet." Doesn't that sound real interesting? Like it sounds very familiar to the Gospels. And then verse 17 says, "I count all my bones. They look, they they stare at me. Uh, they divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots." Sounds just like what happened with Jesus, doesn't it? And as a sidebar, he was talking about, "I count my bones," because the prophecy said they didn't break a bone of his when they crucified him, which is just an amazing phenomenon because um, the thieves that were on the cross next to him, they weren't dead when it was time for them to be dead, so they got their legs broken so they couldn't push up on the cross anymore. But then if we go over the point of this whole thing is go over to Philippians chapter 3 real quick. And this is why I wanted to talk about the dogs, that these people give dogs a bad name. That's what I was thinking when I saw this. And it's Philippians 3:1. It says, "Finally, brother, rejoice in the Lord." To me, to write the same things again is no trouble to me, and it is a safeguard for you. And they didn't have exclamation points or all the punctuations that we have now in the biblical times. And so to get an idea across to you, repetition, say it over and over and over again. That's how the little Jewish children learned the Bible. They would repeat it over and over and over again until it was sunk into their brain and they had that memory of it in their heads. And so he says, for me to tell you this over again is no problem. First, rejoice, but next he says, beware of the dogs, beware of the evil workers, beware of the false circumcision. He's telling the believers, beware of a certain sort of people. And I think who he's telling them to beware of are the same sorts of people that put Jesus on the cross. They were the kind of people that said, we're going to tell you the rules you should live by. We're going to tell you how you have to act to be acceptable to God. Not only that, there were the Romans, the people that all their power came from the hierarchies of the government. And he's saying, beware of those people. They're not going to show you life. They're going to bind you up and put you in control. I laugh about where I go running in the woods. The parks people, they got all these signs and stuff to tell you not to touch the woods as though we can tear them up. And it's like these are the sorts of things where man is trying to control you and tell you how to live. And Paul said, you don't need that. You've got God's Spirit living in you to tell you how to live. And so that's the big deal. And so that's how he finishes this little section off. He says, for we are, you and me are the true circumcision who worship in the Spirit of God who lives in us. We worship in that and put and glory in Christ Jesus and put no confidence in the flesh. The flesh is not just this body. It's the habit pattern stored in your brain that you're tempted to live by your own strength rather than by trusting the Spirit of God in you. And these evildoers, these dogs, will try to pour into your flesh and cause you to trust rules and regulations and standards and things like that rather than to trust the living God in you. And so today, enjoy that living God that's in you because he's the one that's able to go up on a cross. He was the one that was able to die on that cross. He was the one that was able to be buried and then resurrected, ascended to high, and then come live in you. So that's who you need to put your trust in, not all these evildoers or these people that even give dogs bad names. Have a great day. See you soon.